Yes.
So it's getting recorded, not live streamed. I can
Yeah,
live
let's
stream
do
here,
that.
live stream on YouTube.
You can?
I can try, but I think it might go to my account.
Okay, just a second. It was already configured in my account. I don't know why this is giving error right now. Yeah, I'm already using Parinama Academy's account only, so it should be connected. Let's do one thing. We'll record it for now, and then I'll upload the entire session there.
Okay, you can stop recording and start again.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's recording. I'll When the entire recording is completed, I'll upload it on YouTube.
Okay. So we'll go to the next slide. I think this one is just the this is our session 2. I'm assuming some of you had attended our session 1. And I believe that the biggest thing that we want to talk about today is the constant theme that we have heard many times, which is grades are not the only thing that decides everything. This is something we have heard many times. It's kind of interesting thing to talk about because without grades, you wouldn't be even considered. Okay, so we have to be very careful when we read this sentence and not misunderstand this. So this does not mean that your grades are not important. Your grades are very, very important. Grades are one thing in terms of what you need, but also other than your grades, there are many factors that are required. So let me reread it one more time. Okay, grades alone don't decide doesn't mean that grades are not important. So you better have a good grade, and the perfect GPAs are still required. What is really critical is, in spite of that, there are additional things that we are going to talk about here in terms of strategy, right? And normal acceptance rate for any of the Ivy League colleges or tier one colleges is about 3% or 4%. That also means that 96% of the people would actually be rejected. So you don't want them to reject you. Obviously, you want them to consider you. So we will talk about some strategies today. And of course, we will continue these strategies in other sessions as well. So let's go to the next slide. So while the slide pulls up, I want I want you to tell me, if any of this is something that you already know. So you can put it on the chat. If you say that, hey, I didn't know that, academics is not the only factor. We need essays, we need character, you need activity. Is this something that you knew or you didn't know? So, Kiran, Sahiti, you can all drop it in the chat box on what you think you know or you don't know. But again, the holistic theme is going to be the fact that you are supposed to be managing different types of activities. We are talking about volunteering. Of course, you guys are already doing part of it. You have to do some sports. You have to do some clubs. You can do paid job. You can do unpaid job. You can do internship. You can do chores. You can do, just tutoring. You can go to food bank. You can work in library. The question is, what is the main thing that you are doing with your time? And what is very interesting is also the fact that, do you have impact on those? If you are in a club, what kind of club are you and what position do you hold? So if you have a point of view, both Sahiti and Kiran and anyone else on the call, you can always put it on the chat on, what are you doing with your activity? And if there is something that you are really able to stand out or not. The critical thing is not doing the activity. You should do the activity, but you should also be able to stand out. For example, they always use this acronym called SMART. SMART is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic and within a timeline, right? So are you doing something that definitely helps you with having a meaningful impact? If you don't have a meaningful impact, there's no point in doing these activities. They just start filling up. Essays are the only time you get to tell your story. People think storytelling is not important. Storytelling is very important when everybody has a similar GPA or high GPA, or GPA cannot be trusted. For example, I don't know about your schools. There are some schools where everybody gets everybody gets a B minus. So in those kind of situations, what we have figured out is, from an admissions perspective, they want to see how authentic are you. What is your type of your story? What's your point of view? There are some kids who had issues during COVID. Their close friends or family members died. There are some people who have, day-to-day struggle that they're going through. So it's very important to understand the story as said by you, not the story that we should know already. Recommendation is something that's very critical. All of you know that. So just for my memory, Kiran, you are going to go to 10th grade, and Sahiti, you are going to 11. Is that correct?
I'm going to 12th grade.
You're going to 12, so you're already a senior, so junior going to senior. So this is highly critical for you then, because now is the time you should be working on brag sheets. Now is the time you should be talking to your school teachers. The counselor is mandated to give you a letter. So that is a non-negotiable. Yeah, they have to give you a letter from the counselor. What they write is different. That's up to them to decide. But it is very critical that they give a letter from the counselor. But have you identified two or three teachers? That is the big question. Okay, you have to identify these teachers. You can Google for brag sheet. If you don't have a brag sheet, we can give you a sample. You can always find it through ChatGPT or your own schools. But now is the time you have to plant the seed, because your applications will be starting in August, and then through September, and then in October. August for Texas, September for 48 states, and October for California. We want these teachers to be ready to give it to you. If you go to them after the school starts in August, you won't have this letter of recommendation in time for early application or early decision. So it's highly critical that you select 2 to 3 teachers who would give admission. If you're one of those kids who just sit in the class and the teacher doesn't know you by first name or last name, you are in trouble. You have to find some teacher that is ready to give some good recommendation. You also want to make sure the recommendation are from meaningful channels. In this case, let's say you're applying for STEM. It's better you have some STEM teachers who can give recommendation, not just teachers from sports or music. Nothing wrong with that. It's just that, if you're going to a music college, like Boston College of Music, which is #1 in US, then obviously your band director's recommendation is very important. But if you're going to go to, Johns Hopkins to do some neurology, or at least an undergrad to get to becoming a doctor, your band director's recommendation may not hold water, may not. There are also people like us who are external agencies. People come to me for recommendation letters. I normally do only 3 kids in a year. Aryan does a lot of recommendation letters. So it's very critical we all get together and understand, the impact of external people, because you don't want somebody with a good GPA and a bad character. You want somebody with a good character. And so the recommendation letters are not just from school, it's also from outside. People can take it from their church or place of worship, or people like me from other institutions that they worked with, or people who are associated in the society, like there's a fireman or a mayor or a doctor. Anybody who's associated with you can actually do that. All of this boils down to the number 5 there, which is the character and fit. It's very, very important that the institution hires for them, not for you. So it's more like a marriage of equals. You get to go to a college, but the college doesn't also want people who are not of the same culture or same elements that they are looking for. They call it institutional priorities. Sometimes institutional priority can work in your favor. Sometimes they may work against your favor. For example, they may be looking for a flute player or a piano player or a golf player or a lineman or a point guard. And if that's what they are looking for, a 3.2 GPA might still get you into a Harvard or Stanford because they might be looking for a specific set of non-negotiable academics. I was working with one kid to get to MIT last year, and they were very particular from MIT that he had a score of at least 28 in ACT. And unfortunately, we could not get to 28. We had to stop at 26. But MIT is very particular that if you cannot get 28, you cannot step into our institution. So we have to be very clear on institutional priorities, because even alignment in MIT has to have a specific GPA and a specific SAT, specific ACT, and a specific set of skills that they bring to the table. So obviously, there's no single factor. You are looking for the whole student. That means your time management is the main thing that they are looking for. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so this is my favorite. I think, this is also a no-brainer. A lot of people keep on talking about depth versus breadth or quantity versus quality. These are things that we have always discussed in many different forums. But the key thing that you have to question yourself is, even if you do one activity or even two activities, are you leading the team? Are you having impact? We talked about it a few minutes ago. Did you take any specific initiative? Okay, that is something that's unique with you. And are you really passionate about it? That's something that's also comes across. If you are passionate, then you would definitely write about it, and you would definitely talk about it. You would definitely be working on it, and you would be actively participating and attending events related to it. So it's very important that the profile that you are building for yourself, not just for now, but even for future, is a fact that you have depth versus quantity. I also sometimes differ with this view. And the reason I differ with this view is because not everybody has figured out everything. There are times where you may not be able to figure out all of these. And that's still a story worth writing in the college essay. For example, when it says here 12 clubs surface level involvement, you can always say, hey, I tried 12 clubs, it didn't work out. Sorry, I really tried hard. And of course, not doing everything to look good, that's definitely not the motive. But again, there are kids that I have worked with who had 12, 14 clubs. They really don't do well, but they did get into a good college because we could articulate that, there was some kind of experimentation done, because you guys are still in high school. It's very, very unfair to expect that you have figured everything out. It is not possible. So let's be practical here. So that's why, we are looking to make sure that we are able to, play both sides of the coin. But if you do have the time and the initiative, please try to see if you can really work on the depth, which is easy to say but difficult to implement. Any questions before we move on? Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, so the spike is something that I keep hearing a lot of times, right? So you can read through all of this, but which are all written here. But I think the key word is unforgettable, right? Unforgettable is the word here. What have you done that makes an impact, that people are able to see your passion and you are consistent? You just don't want to do it one time and just vanish, right? So is there something that you did constantly over your academic career in terms of grade 9 to 12, in which you had passion and you were consistent and you had an impact? All these three put together really defines you. And like I said, if all three don't work, I still work with kids to make a sad story saying that didn't work out. That's still you. But it will always be a success story if you can have one of these titles that's shown here, that you are a young journalist or science innovator or social entrepreneur, whatever you could show yourself as. That's really something that is critical. I want to also point out the bottom line that Akash had worked and written there, which is very important here. That is, the ones on the top is all glamorous. It doesn't have to be glamorous, as long as you're genuine and sustained. That's a really profound statement there. All it means is just be yourself, right? And if you couldn't make an impact, that's still okay. But it should be an honest attempt to try. So you can always say, I tried, and hey, it worked or it didn't work. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. So this, I think we have spoken many times. This works very closely to Sahiti, but also, you can work on this as well, Kiran. Normally these are buckets that people put in. I don't like this acceptance rate as a criteria. Only reason is because this acceptance rate for reach and match versus, safety or target and all of these terms just means that, you don't have to uh, you are trying to have some criteria that helps you understand what kind of universities these are. What I would really look for is also your probability, right? Your probability is very important. It's important that, let's say UT Austin has a program on journalism, and you want they have an acceptance rate of 50%, but not for journalism. For journalism it could be 75%, and for STEM it could be like 5%, or 3%. So it is not just the acceptance rate, it is also your probability to get in there. And the strategy that's recommended here, which is to identify, how many of these that you are going to have in your arsenal. In this case, you can see that, you know, the safety colleges normally in Texas are like UT Dallas or UT San Antonio, or Texas A&M Corpus Christi, uh, or the one I studied, which is called UT Permian Basin. These are all safety colleges. Anybody can go to these colleges. Texas State, they will not stop you from taking any course there. The I don't know if Michigan can be considered as a target, but for some kids, based on your GPA and also based on your extracurricular, it might be, right? The tier ones obviously are the reach ones. It's very difficult to get to the reach, but the number that is recommended here to 12 is 12 to 15. I have worked kids who have applied up to 32 colleges. I've also worked with kids who have just applied 8 colleges. So if it's all up to you in deciding how many that you would like to apply. But I would definitely stay with 12 to 15 or 15 to 20 range so that you are not disappointed when the college admissions roll out. Let's go to the next one. So Akash, we can go to the next one. Akash, Akash, are you able to see it? Hello? Okay, let me see if I can pull up the slide. I had a small issue earlier. I'm hoping that I can pull up the same slides. On my phone, I'm able to pull it up. For some reason, I'm having issue here. Yeah, Akash.
Yeah. Is it
Yeah,
visible?
okay. Now it's visible. Yeah. So I believe, some of these factors are things that, Sahiti, you have to be watching out, and of course, Kiran and the rest of you to keep in mind, which is, when you are listing out what you have done, you cannot have random extra. That's obvious. it says that don't join without purpose. I sometimes say that if you have joined without purpose, you can always say that you did join, and later on you figured out that the purpose was not aligned. But either which way, random. If you knew already in ninth or 10th grade, then that is good. If not, it's going to be a challenge there. And in terms of how we articulate these, this will all go into the essays, and that's why you can see that we have to work with you, or somebody has to work with you, or you can work with yourself. But you have to have a narrative or a story. The story should be cohesive, and story should be able to come and put together all the elements at the same time. This is something that I mentioned to all the kids, which is start right now. Right now means as soon as your AP exams are completed, start now. You have time all the way till August 10th, and you have about close to 3 months if you really look at it. So just make sure that you can work for 3 months and have all of this ready, as opposed to once the school starts back in August, you will have no time. You will have no time. And then obviously the fourth one is is a no-brainer. I'm not going to read that. But then do not look at the essay as checklist. That's a very good tip that you can take for yourself, because these are your only opportunity for you to impress the admissions officer. This is the time to tell your narrative, tell your story. Okay. And also you can see ignoring fit. Okay, some kids want to go for the brand, but the brand may or may not be what is their fit. So how do you know the fit? Honestly, it's very difficult. But I would recommend for Sahiti and anyone else who are in 11th grade going to 12th, start making some visits to campus. Some of these campuses will be closed, obviously, but at least you get to see how the campus vibe is. If it's in the city, outside the city, downtown, like in Austin versus UT San Antonio, which is a little bit further, or Texas A&M, which has its own like a city. All of these are definitely a good way to look at how these colleges are located and what they offer other than the education. Go to the next slide. Okay. So since we have all the different grades here, I think we need to touch upon grade 10 and 12 for now. So going from grade 9 to 10, this is the time to really look at your spike, getting ready for your SAT or ACT, a diagnostic, which of course means you're not going to take SAT or ACT now. You still have PSAT 10 to do. Think about leadership roles, think about your own project, be you, right? Having some definition of who you are and what you bring to the table. That's very, very critical in grade 10. Grade 11 and 12, again, you already have finished your SAT. You have built I don't think you would have built a narrative yet, but at least you should have some idea about your colleges. See if you can visit them. And in terms of teacher relationship, make sure that you have some relationship with your teachers that can write credible story about you. It's very important that you have that, because colleges love to see the two teachers that write about you. And you have to start early. We keep on repeating it. I tell people to start now. They come back to me in August and say, I'm going to work on brag sheet. By the time they are done, the teachers have no interest. Others would have already submitted, and your application will be delayed. I normally get my first set of admissions by August 4th to 10th. So I'd love to see some of you get admitted before that time. I don't like to wait too long, because I need at least one or two admission just for fun. These are safety schools. These are not real, tier one, but at least something to feel proud about even before the school starts. And teacher relationship, that's very, very critical. I cannot emphasize more. If you have it, use it. And then we are talking about grade 12. And the biggest thing is to finalize the list. We have a template, but you can definitely find any kind of template online. It's also time to write the essay. Like I said, most people will write anywhere from 25 to 85 essays. It's a lot of essays. There's only one essay, which is the Common App, personal essay, that's 650 words. But all other essays are going to take a long time because those are short essays, 150 words, 250 words. 650 word itself is kind of short, but it may take about 2 to 4 weeks for some of these things. The admission deadlines are always till Jan, but like I said, I don't like to admit till then because we are have to also do what is considered scholarships and also honors college. So sometimes you don't want to miss out on those. So there is only not just one part of the application, which is to go apply for college. You also have to apply for the honors role. You also have to apply for the scholarship. Let's go to the next slide. If you are keeping track of time and slide, we are in slide 8, and we are about 30 minutes into the presentation. So this is summertime. Obviously, you are all coming here during the summertime. So after grade 10, you can read those. After grade 11, you can read those. But I do not know if any of you are planning to go abroad. But this is the time. Actually, we went to Ireland and Iceland at that time. And so my kids were able to see that in Ireland. So Ireland is a good location for a lot of international students to go. Obviously not from US. I know one family that I helped, they're going from US to England, but England is not Ireland, right? So, but Ireland has a lot of good universities, a lot of people from India, from China are all coming there because Ireland is British in the sense that they speak English, they still have similar kind of structure, but don't forget they are not the same. Obviously, Irish people are not the same as the British. They have their own set of cultural differences, but that also gives you perspective to see international ones. But even interstate ones are good, and also look for any internship in your field. If you're able to get that this summer, that'll be really helpful. At Parinama, we are working on an AI program. We're also working on some internships for AI, and we are also looking on some ways to articulate all of this back into the college application for AI because the theme obviously is AI, AI, AI. So if anyone is looking for those, we definitely are working this summer towards that. Let's go to the next one. So this, I'm not going to read every line except, the one at the bottom, which is my favorite. We want to know who you really are. This is a, critical thing. For people who do not know, I tell them that Harvard now has a Tamil chair. What that means is, Harvard is able to drive, initiative where all of the Tamil scriptures and Tamil artifacts are coming there. So they love to hire someone who is a proud Tamil so that they can really be the authority in the world on the Tamil language. If you know to dance, Bharatanatyam or ballet or, a Bhangra, they are looking for that. Like they don't want yet another person that is rapping. Nothing wrong with that. It's just that they got enough of that. They want you. Because there are 8.4 billion of us. All of us are going to be bringing something unique to the table. Intellectual curiosity, are you a great learner or a great chaser? Most of us are great chasers. There's nothing wrong with that. That's how you get into this game. But a lifelong learner is a quality that they are looking for. What are you curious about? What are the questions you ask, not the answers you give? So it's very critical that we develop those ideas on how to ask questions and how to be curious. That's something that will come through your essay. If you're writing essays with us or by yourself, make sure that you're able to articulate that. Uh, and the initiative and drive, it's a very key thing because a lot of people try to say, I was part of DECA or HOSA or, I did State Fair. But what was your contribution? Like, if you were not there, the world would have missed you. Like, are you really that important? And that's something that you have to answer for the colleges. And then the biggest thing is the long-term commitment. I always joke around saying all the best entrepreneurs in the US are all school dropouts, right? So, Steve Jobs never completed it. Harvard, did not have Bill Gates completed. Bottom line is, each college wants at least 20 to 70 grand from you. And if you don't follow through, they would lose a lot of money. But I'm just joking here. But in reality, you don't want you want long-term commitment. You really, really want the kid to finish what they start. We have 3 more slides, hopefully 5 more minutes. We'll go through those. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so how can we help you, right? So how we can help you is the four things that is listed here. Obviously, if you are in grade 9, 10, 11, we are working with you throughout your journey. If you are going from 11 to 12, we are definitely working on planning from today all the way till April, till you go to the National Sign Up Day on May 1st, 2027. We have monthly twice meeting, and we meet with everyone in terms of building the roadmap, executing the roadmap, doing a project plan, and being on time and giving correct feedback at the right time so that you are not delayed. In terms of building the profile, we definitely are always looking for your spike. And if we are able to help you, some of you, we have assigned you to write books, write, do podcasts, do YouTube, do TikTok. The key word is do, not talk, right? Do not keep talking. We need some action. And we definitely, some of you know that we have been giving you those opportunity. The process is very complicated. That is why the application guidance is critical, because you really need help all the way through, which is also what is provided through the mentorship. The mentorship that we provide is where we are going to work with each of you, and PCC here stands for Parinama College Counseling. We keep saying that we are college counselors. We are also consultants. Applications are the ones which get accepted or declined. What that means is students never get accepted. It is the application that gets accepted. So we want you to always start early with the application, and always make sure that you put in the best into the application, because you are nothing but your application. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. So the five key takeaways, I think by now you should know. I like the second one, which is early planning. Always, plan early. Don't go to the last minute. And being authentic is very important. Do not try to hide whom you are. A strong application will have one story. Don't try to have four or five stories. And then strategy really matters. Okay, because you have only enough time for certain things. You don't want to apply to University of Michigan and then find that it is going to be in a cold place. You should know Michigan is a cold place. Don't apply and waste your time if you're not ready to move to a cold place. Or California has a very warm weather, but remember the sticker price for most of their universities is $80,000 to $90,000. You're talking about $500,000 of education, 400,000 to 500,000. I told my son when he was applying for in UCLA, Southern California, I didn't realize that University of Southern California is not part of UC system. Either which way, that would cost about close to 500 to 700,000. I told him it's too expensive, right? Is it really worth it? So you don't want to waste your time on applications that are not going to be giving you the output that you are looking for. But the same 500,000 is worth investing on Stanford or Harvard. You know that because it will reap off in a week, in a month or year or so. It's very easy to get back the return. Let's go to the next one. Yeah, the one after this.
That is it. That's the last slide.
Okay. So I didn't realize we already went to 30. That was good. I'm going to wait here for any questions. If you don't have questions, we will still wait, stop the recording, and then give you another opportunity to ask questions when the recording stops. So I will wait for a few seconds. If I don't hear anything, I will ask the recording to be stopped, and then you can still ask any question because some people are, they don't want to be recorded. So we will wait. Okay, you can stop recording, Akash. Um, so Sahiti or Kiran, any questions from your side?
I don't think I have any questions right now. I've been focusing on like I have a good amount of extracurricular